Hello there, welcome to Genesis Models. My name is Bobby Waldron and this is the November 2016 Genesis Model Show. Now, coming up in the show, we've got all sorts of product reviews, inbox reviews, we've got our news and all those sort of goodies to show you. Just to get started with the show, let's get started with announcing our competition for last month. In October for our 148 scale Red Arrows Nat T1 trainer by Airfix. Really cool kit. Now, after doing the usual random number generation program and counting down the thread in the competition section, I came to Beefy 7337. So congratulations to you, Beefy. You are October 2016's Genesis Models competition winner. Now all you got to do, I'll give you an email to get your mail address and ship this out to you free of charge. Now, if you didn't win, don't worry, we'll be announcing November's competition later on in the show, so stay tuned for that. Now, it is getting close to Christmas, so hopefully you're making your Christmas list to give to your wife, so we'll be having our kit release news later on. But what we're going to have, just to get started, is a nice inbox review, something a little bit different. We're looking at miniatures here by a company I haven't really sort of built or made or painted anything of it. It is of Master Box Limited, and it is the British Infantry before the attack World War I era 135th scale. So let's have a nice inbox review of this. Hello there, welcome to Genesis Models. My name is Bob Waldron, and in this video we're going to be having an inbox review of the infantry, British Infantry before the attack World War I era, and that is by Master Box Limited, and the scale is 135th scale. So this is something a little bit different here from what we normally do at Genesis Models, and I've never done a Master Box Limited inbox review before, so it'd be quite nice to sort of see what they're like. Now, this kit is around about the £15 mark, so you know, a fairly sort of cheap price, and it was new tooled in 2015, so it is fairly new as of November 2016 as I do this. So let's open it. Well, let's actually look at the back first, because on the back what you will see, just get you on camera right, what you'll see is this is your instructions, this is your paint instructions. All your instructions are here on the back, which does make it okay, you can see where you're going with the instructions. It is sort of fairly simple construction, but you do have to really sort of look and concentrate a bit on where all the numbers are going and all this kind of stuff and all the different colours. But then, in saying that, we're only talking little miniatures here, and just building a bit of a diorama, which is rather cool. So actually, just to sort of show you as well, this is what we're going to be basically building, a nice diorama piece. As you can see just there, nice diorama piece, and then we've got like 5 figures we can paint up as well. So having a look inside the box, they all come in a nice plastic bag, and we have 4 sprues all together with this kit. We'll do the diorama bit first, because the diorama piece is basically 2 sprues that are identical. The first sprue, if we have a good look at this, what you can see is we've got some nice good sort of dirty sort of texture with sandbags going along here. Personally, I'd probably be going off and doing all sorts of weathering and sort of make a bit more of a muddy effect on here myself. We have some wood just along here, which has got what looks like nice big sort of nails nailed in there. You can sort of see the grain of the wood. Maybe get you in as close as you can to sort of see the grain of the wood on there as well, so you know, getting a wash in there and everything will bring that out. We've got some more bits of planks of wood. We've got the big sort of the bottom part of the wood on here, which what I like about this is all your different planks of wood, they're not all sort of level. You know, you have got raised ones and recessed ones to really give it a little bit more oomph to the detail of that and make it more sort of realistic. We've got some posts as well, which you then start to sort of see at this little bit here for some strange reason. You do start to see a bit of flash going on. I mean, it's a lot of flash on the sprue, which is no big deal, but you are going to sort of have to do a bit of trimming here and there. However, it's not a big thing to really worry about, because you could probably do so much mud texture and wet effects and all sorts of cool weathering stuff on here that, I mean, you could cover up any sort of blemishes that might be with this, which again is rather cool. Then we come to our next sprue, which is all our figures. Now looking at, let's take one of these figures, looking at some of the torso sections, hopefully you can see, you know, there's a nice bit of detail in here. We can see buttons, pockets, belt buckles, straps, you know, nice sort of fabric detail going on there. This one actually has a tie, I think that's our officer. So yeah, lots of detail. We've got a little rucksack just here again. You know, you can see all those sort of buckles and everything. We've got some legs. You can sort of see again, we've got some seam lines, bit of flash going on here. The hands are looking well detailed as well. Moving along, some more legs and arms. We've got the officer's pistol just here as well, you know, nice detail going on there. There is a bit of flash with this kit, but again, when it comes to miniatures, I mean, personally I don't worry too much about flash, because with miniatures it's normally like fabric, and when it comes round to sort of sanding down or scraping up any sort of flash that's on here, it's quite very easy to sort of blend that in with fabric compared to like aircraft and all sorts of kind of seam lines that you really sort of need to get rid of. These you can do quite easy on fabric. The second sprue is a really cool sprue where we get all our little pieces. So we've got all sorts of rifles with bayonets. We've got our pistols, holsters, ammo pouches. We've got axes, we've got daggers. We've got shovels, you know, we've got loads of cool stuff on here. This actual sprue looks rather well detailed actually. I love the weapons on here as well, especially with these bayonets. However, I can just imagine these bayonets getting broken quite easily, so you know, you're going to want to be quite careful with that. And you could sort of zoom in on this and you can probably see, you know, you can even see down to the triggers as well. So really cool detail. We've got some helmets here, we've got some grenades as well. Again, another rifle up here. It does look like, compared to, I mean, what you got like one officer, 4 normal infantrymen, and there's like crikey, there's loads of rifles on here. I'm counting up 5, 6, 7 rifles, of ones with bayonets, ones without, different pistols holstered and everything. I think there's even an MG on here as well, but don't hold me to that because I'm not sure what that one actually is. Again, it's World War II, it's not really my forte. But yeah, looking at this kit, right, what I do like is you've got a really cool diorama with all your miniatures. It's going to make a really cool little piece. I do like how, because it's World War I, it's in the trench warfare, I do like how, you know, we can really sort of get down and dirty and really sort of you know, test our skills with mud, dirt, water and thick mud, watery mud, and all sorts, even sort of like doing a bit of woodwork as well. And the miniatures do look rather pretty damn good quality miniatures actually. I'm quite impressed for again, who were they? Master Box Limited, not to be mixed up with Matchbox. But yeah, big thumbs up there. Only £15, you can't really grumble. And the only thing really I can find a problem with this is it's got a bit of flash on, which again, I don't think it's a big deal. So yeah, big thumbs up here from Genessis-Models. So hopefully you found this inbox review beneficial. So until next time, my name is Bobby Waldron, this is Genessis-Models, and I hope you've enjoyed. Right then, what you see here before me is the HMS Victory. Now, in the questions and answers section, the show questions and answers section on the Genessis-Models forum, someone did make a post saying where is and what's going on with HMS Victory. Sadly, in all honesty, it has sort of ended up being on the shelf of doom. For those of you who've been around for a while, you'll know that with Genessis-Models, we did go off and we sort of set up a shop, and that didn't sort of quite work out because Genessis-Models is more international than local. And with the whole sort of moving in there and then moving back, this sort of ended up being put on the back burner because I sort of did get a bit behind with my work, so I was just trying to sort of keep up with the normal sort of video step-by-step releases and stuff. You know, so this kind of got skipped a bit, and then you know, it's one of these builds where the reason why it sort of ended up a bit on the shelf of doom is if you look at the videos, I've already shown you how to cut out say all these gun ports, right? And I've showed you a couple of different ways of showing you how to do that, and then there's all this the planking, right? I've shown you different techniques of doing that as well, and it's just got to a point now where, okay, I can't really show you any more planking, and I can't really show you how to cut out gun ports, and it really is sort of one of these things where it would just take me, I just really need to kind of sit down and just spend a week on this solid, but no filming, right? Because there's no point me showing you more planking and more cutting out gun ports because you've already seen it, but I need to actually cut all these out, and it really does take a fair bit of time just to cut out these gun ports and then trimming them up and sanding them and getting them all nice, and you know, just simply doing all this planking. I mean, you can literally be spending like an hour or two and you've gone down maybe, you know, 2 or 3 rows of planks, right? Which is why, as I say, I need a week just to kind of build and not really have anything to film, which is why okay, it doesn't sort of help in the sense that you're not going to see any victory anytime soon because of that. I'm just trying to explain why we haven't seen the victory, but one of the questions was as well, is it dead? It's not dead. It is definitely something I really do still intend on seeing right to the end. It is sort of, you know, as I say, it's ended up on the shelf of doom. I need to find some time for it, because really once all the planking's done, I literally have received literally all the magazines now, so I've got all the parts, and looking through them, I mean, there's all sorts of cool stuff once this planking's done. All kinds of detail work that goes inside, rigging, masks, all sorts of cool stuff that we can really sort of get going with and sort of get this kick started again. But hopefully in the next couple of months we'll start seeing this come back to life. But you know, sorry it's been on the shelf of doom, but you know, as you know, these things do sometimes happen. We all have a shelf of doom. So that is the HMS Victory. Moving along, we have the Hellcat finished last month, and what this basically means is we're going to have a new step-by-step coming here at Genessis-Models. So I do believe next week we're going to have the links, and then the week after that we'll start the new build, because what I've decided is with Hellcat, which was our weekly release, and the Meteor and the Lynx was our fortnightly release, what's going to happen is our Meteor here is going to take up the weekly release spot, and Lynx is still going to be a fortnightly spot. or 2 weeks, depending what country you come from. And the new step-by-step will be on a fortnightly basis as well. And what the next step-by-step is going to be, I've got a few kits in mind, but I honestly don't know exactly yet. Should I leave it as a surprise? Yeah, I'll just leave it as a surprise. So in 2 weeks' time, you will sort of see whatever the next step-by-step is going to be. So look out for that this month in November. Now we're going to come to the part of the show where we're going to be taking a look at what the manufacturers out there have been releasing kit-wise. So here is November 2016's kit release news. Hello there and welcome to November 2016's Genessis-Models kit release news. First up we have the Messerschmitt BF110D1R1. That is by Dragon at 1/32 scale and is retailing at a whopping £110. Next up we have Tamiya's brand new release of a Grumman F14A Tomcat in 1/48 scale at also a whopping £74.99. Trumpeter releases a J7A Chinese Fighter 1/48 scale at £25.99. We've also got an F2H2 Banshee 1/48 scale by Kitty Hawk Models at £42.99. Lockheed releases a T35A early version that is manufactured by Great Wall Hobbies 1/48 scale at £32.99. Airfix releases a 1/48 scale Cortez P40B Tomahawk Flying Shark. That's at a nice £20.99. We have an IDF APC and that's by Hobby Boss 1/35 scale at £35.99. Vesta releases a 1/35 scale Russian T14 and that is at £32.50. We've got some World War II British paratroopers in Combat Set A and a Combat Set B as well, and they are ranging at around about the £18 mark each, and that's 1/35 scale. We got some Navy here with the French Navy battleship Danton, and that is by Hobby Boss 1 in 350 scale at £49.99. And that is it for your kit release news for November 2016. So that is the kit release news. Next up we're going to be having our a nice product review of sort of a new product that's come in. It's a single action airbrush, and it's what sort of drawed me to this particular product is that one, it's made by Scale Model, what was it, the Scale Model shop, so it's nice to see them releasing something of their own brand. It's less than £20, or should we say £19.99, so a really nice cheap airbrush. And I've always wanted to sort of delve into the single action airbrush. So this product review coming up now is going to be sort of talking a lot about single action airbrushes and why we use them, as well as taking a look at this product itself. So let's take a look at this, and then after this we'll probably be doing like the competition for November. Hello there, welcome to Genessis-Models. My name's Bobby Waldron, and in this video we're going to be having a product review of the BD206 airbrush, and this is by, who was it again? It was by Scale Model Shop. So actually this is an online shop. They've gone out and they've started producing their own airbrushes, which is rather cool to see. What's different about this airbrush is this is a single action airbrush. Now here at Genessis-Models, mainly what we've taught you is using the good old dual action airbrushes. Dual action, you press down to get air, you pull back to get paint, and you just have this control over how much air and paint you have coming out at whatever desired time. However, with a single action, you just press down the trigger and you just plain and simply you have air and paint coming out. And just at the back, you've got this little screw just at the back there, which you just turn, which sort of brings the needle forward and backward to sort of have so much paint coming out. So why have a single action airbrush when a dual action seems to do everything for you more than a single action? Well, first off, single action airbrushes have less moving parts, which basically means they are generally more cheaper. This particular airbrush is less than £20 as well, so extremely cheap for an airbrush. But as I say, single action, less moving parts, that's probably why it's cheap. And it's one of these sort of budget buy type airbrushes as well. So well, let's just kind of see how it sprays and everything, and just see if actually, you know, is the cost of this actually a good thing, or is it just so cheap that it's kind of a bit worthless? Also with single action airbrushes, the one thing is, because you sort of use the screw at the back, you do basically really sort of tune the airbrush to have that sort of perfect sort of spray pattern every single time, which generally you do find people who do natural metal finishes do prefer to use a single action airbrush, because with natural metal finishes, it's these types of paints that any kind of blemishes, mistakes or anything like that can really show up with like a natural metal finish. So basically having an airbrush where you can really sort of fine tune it to have that perfect spray pattern every single time you press down the trigger, it really sort of gives you that more perfect spray pattern, which is generally why people go for the single action. So there's the sort of reasons why. So let's open this up, and on the box, as you can see, it tells you a bit about this actual airbrush. It's got a 0.3mm needle in there. It has a cup capacity of 5 cc's. I mean, let's say working pressure between 15 and 50 psi, which is well within what we, well actually, I mean, it says 15, but some of these natural metal finishes, which is potentially why you'd get a single action, sometimes you can go as low as 10 psi, so we'll have to test that out. It's a gravity feed as well, which basically means gravity feeds the paint down. So let's open this up. It is in a, you know, an okay sort of cheapish type box. So if we just open this up, we've got a bit of plastic on the top, and basically we've got in this nice sort of sponge holder here, we've got a little wrench. We've got this sort of archaic type hose connector, which you don't normally see these at all now, especially being sold in a new kit. It would have been a lot better if they just got rid of this, because nobody's going to be using those hoses where you kind of push your hose onto this. It's, you know, kind of baffles me why they put this in here instead of putting one of these quick release valves, which I've just happened to have a spare one. You don't get one of these in the kit, but basically what you do, well, what you could do with this one, which you probably need to do, I mean, I've got a quick release valve on here, which I don't know if I'm going to be able to, yeah, there you go, I can get it off. Basically you would sort of screw this on to here like so, and that's how you'd probably use it straight off the bat. But really, getting a quick release valve is what you want, which I've got just here. And the reason for this is we just screw that on. Let's put this one back on as well. A little tip, you see that white stuff, that's plumber's tape, sort of creates a good sort of seal. Let's get that on nice and tight, and basically quick release valve, we can just go pop, clips on, pop off, nice and easy. So quick look at this airbrush. Let's just take this apart sort of really quickly, just so we can have a little quick look at the parts inside, what they're looking like. Have we got O-rings, have we got Teflons, that sort of stuff, which by the way, you did get a little sort of set of instructions that came in the box. and in this instructions basically it just tells you a bit about maintenance, nothing major, but it kind of lays out all the parts for you and names them as well. And I'm seeing a lot of O-rings on there and not Teflons. In fact, I'm not seeing any Teflons on there. So Teflons basically, again, when it comes to single action airbrushes, you potentially want to be using natural metal finishes, which are normally things like enamel or lacquer based paints. And when you come around to using enamels or lacquer based paints, you do kind of want Teflons because they can take it more, whereas O-rings over time they do sort of wear out due to like the acrylic based paints and enamel based paints. But then you are only paying less than £20 for this. So open this up. Well, first off, you can change your cup. I don't know if they actually do some different sort of size cups, but there you go. They possibly might, I don't know. Then we start off with the needle end. So let's bring you in on the needle end. We've got our needle caps here. Right, this is the guard bit. Right, and then we've got this big one just here. Right, so we screw this off. And in here we've got a pretty sort of big nozzle, and just 1 second, just get out a little blade. You might just be able to see as well, we do have this sort of pretty sort of puny O-ring. It is really sort of small, really sort of flimsy. Hopefully you can just see that really sort of flimsy tiny little O-ring there. I don't know how long that is gonna last, but as soon as that sort of goes, you're potentially gonna have like bubbles coming up through the colour cup and stuff. But still, again, you've got to remember this is under £20. Hopefully it'll last long enough to get you into the hobby or be a second airbrush. And maybe just changing O-rings here and there might not be such a bad thing considering the price. We then need the little Allen key here, right, and we just unscrew this, lefty loosey righty tighty, remember. Right, and as you can see, this is a pretty big nozzle. Right, now there is no O-rings or any kind of seals on there. I mean, you might see it looks a bit grey, that's because I have actually used this airbrush already, but you know, not looking too bad actually. I can see how this being such a nice big sort of nozzle that it just makes it a little bit harder for you to actually break. It's those really sort of tiny ones from like a water and stuff where and that sort of tiny, they're a little sort of easy to sort of maybe tighten them on too much, but this is quite a nice big one. I do like the big ones, as I say. They're less likely to have any, well, you know, they do sort of, you can break them quite easily, but you know, it just helps a bit more. And then we can just pull out our needle, which is a nice sort of half needle compared to a dual action. Now you do need an Allen key to say take this out, although you don't necessarily need to. Alright, and once you've got the actual needle out, the trigger just pops out. Now the trigger is quite big, it does feel quite nice when actually pressing it down, but there you go, that is the trigger. And really we then got, let's just take off this quick release valve and the valve body, which if we take this off, hopefully you can see, you know, we got some nice Teflons, you know, pretty sort of okay sized Teflons just there. You know, I mean, it's looking to be quite good quality. We have got a little bit of grease just on top of here, you might be able to see that. Right, and if we take this top part out, if I can just get this off, you'll again see, you know, a fair bit of grease sort of in and around there. So that is potentially something you may want to sort of make sure you maybe sort of top up with this one, because I do seem to put a lot of grease in there for an airbrush, whereas I've not really noticed that with like the the more expensive airbrushes, but there's a fair bit in there, so it might need it. Got a big O-ring just there as well. Right, and that is basically all your sort of internal parts there. Just down there, right, we do inside there, it's an O-ring, it's not a Teflon again. Just remember, Teflons are just more sort of durable for your, you know, lacquers and enamels and stuff. So putting this back together is pretty sort of easy. It's just what we've done. Make sure you put in the trigger first before the needle. Now, although there's not really much of a spring in there, I mean, that does sort of bounce quite nicely. It does feel quite good. And this is where sort of like you don't have all these different parts. I mean, on a dual action you'll have all sorts of springs and all sorts of stuff at this end, but you haven't got all that because it's a single action. And then we just carefully place this in here, screw it on just a few times, then we come in with our nozzle, right, and we just, you know, finger tighten this first, right, and then this is where a lot of people, first time getting an airbrush maybe, what they'll do is they'll think this thing needs to be as tight as they possibly can do it, and they will just wrench this around as tight as they possibly can, and then you cross thread it and you need to go out and you know, get new nozzles, or worse still, you've sort of broke it off and you've just got the actual threaded bit in there and it's going to be solid to sort of get it out. But really you just need to just give it that little, just, you know, just a little bit of a tighten to it, because what's going to happen is when we sort of start spraying through this, if you see sort of bubbling coming back up through the colour cup and whatnot, or it's not sort of spraying right, it's quite potential that, oh, you may need to just tighten up that nozzle just a little bit more, rather than let's just tighten it up and cross thread it. It's a lot better to sort of have a bit of a problem afterwards and then just tighten it up a bit more, as I say. So we put this nozzle cap on here and the last bit of a cap on as well. Right, and then this is where we can actually tighten the needle end up as well now. Again, you don't have to like really wrench it down. Put on our quick release valve, which remember we don't get with this actual kit, although it would have been really nice to get one. And then I just need to turn on my compressor, clip it in our quick release valve, and we'll just have a little sort of play with this now. Well, let's have a little play with this, just the feel of this. I think it may take a little bit of getting used to, especially if you're used to dual action. You sort of hold it in a way that you sort of would sort of normally sort of hold your airbrush like this, but it does sort of tend to sort of maybe come in a little bit more sort of straight, it sort of comes in behind your finger just here, and that is a bit different. But actually not too bad. It does feel quite good. It's got some weight to it. I do like as well how the Scale Model Shop as well have got their name just imprinted just on there, as you can see. But anyway, let's get a bit of Vallejo. I'm not going to dilute this. I'd rather see if there's more of a problem to this than diluting it nice and thin, because any airbrush can spray something nice and thin, so let's not mix any thinners with this. So let's get in some Vallejo 057 black. Right, just whacking some of that in there. Right, and now this is the thing that you may or may not like about single action airbrushes. We bring you in, right, we've got this just a screw just at the back here. I mean, what do they actually call it in the instructions? The adjustment screw, right? And basically if we screw that all the way in, press down for, oh, that's just splattered out, there we go. Okay, press down for air. What you get is you get no paint coming out, but as you sort of just slightly start turning our little adjustment screw that little bit more every time, right, what you end up is just finely tuning this See how it's just starting to come out, and then almost there, a little bit more. Right, and what you end up doing is tuning this to just start getting that biting point. Right, so you may hear me harp on a lot about getting your biting point with an airbrush, where you just start pressing down the trigger and pulling back to get paint, and when that paint just comes out, there's your biting point. And it's good to actually, you know, practice on getting that biting point with a single action airbrush. It's just press down the trigger and then just slowly bring back your adjustment screw, and then you can just keep on spraying. Take your finger off and you just press down every single time. You're going to get that same spray pattern, right, every single time. So when we come along to say a model, we can go, okay, there's my biting point, but I want a little bit more. I want to get a bit of a spray pattern going on here. I mean, this is the one thing as well by single action airbrushes, is with a dual action, right, you can sort of do that bit of a flicking motion, right, where you sort of flick the trigger and maybe just blast out a bit of paint, and it sort of cleans off the needle end. With a single action, you can't flick that needle back. You've sort of got to screw it in, screw it out, screw it in, screw it out, or we're going to take off the front needle cap, right, and potentially with a kitchen paper towel we're going to be sort of cleaning this needle off a few times. Right, that is sort of like the real sort of one downfall to it, but I mean, if you just keep on cleaning the needle with a kitchen paper towel, you should be all right. But again, remember, this is under £20 for an airbrush. So with the airbrush now, we can spray this wing, and it's sort of like every time we go across, we're getting that same spray pattern. Every single time, same amount of paint, same amount of air, every single time, and that's what you're sort of after when it comes to doing natural metal finishes. And so really, actually, that is spraying out rather well. To be honest with you, I do kind of like it actually. It is just, I mean, me personally, I would probably be taking our needle cap off and leaving it off, and then, you know, just gotta clean that that needle end periodically, because as I say, you can't do that little quick flick and a blast out to the one side or something like that. And you can still go off and sort of, I do like to be able to cut to air and sort of blow dry my paint. Again, that's something you could potentially can't really do with a single action. I mean, you could, but then it would mean sort of turning your adjustment screw all the way down so that all you get is air coming out, right? But then if you've calibrated and set up your adjustment screw the way you want it, and then you screw it all the way back in just to cut to air, and as you can see, this is drying off nicely, you've then got to go off and again you got to sort of adjust and get your spray pattern the way you want it again, which I think I'm out of paint. Yes, I'm out of paint anyway, but yeah, you've got to mess about with that. So all in all, I would say it's a good airbrush for a beginner, someone who wants a second airbrush, someone who wants to sort of, you know, you don't want to go out and spend hundreds and hundreds of pounds on an airbrush and a compressor to get started. You know, for maybe less than £100 you could get sort of like a compressor and this airbrush, and you're sort of good to go. And I can see it lasting a while. I can see somewhere down the line these O-rings sort of failing on you, maybe a couple of months down the line, especially if you don't sort of keep on top with your cleanliness with your airbrush. But apart from that, yeah, I mean, it's going to be a good airbrush. I mean, you can't be going out and getting £100 plus airbrush. You know, you can't beat these. These kind of airbrushes are going to be for life. This may not be for life, but then do you know what? I mean, if you need any spare parts, it's only £20, less than £20 to go out and buy this airbrush and basically use it for spares and repairs, or just have a new one or whatever. So the price is a really big selling factor for this, and again, you know, it is good for doing your natural metal finishes as well, and just potentially having a second airbrush to put different colours in or whatever. The only real thing really about this kit is why they have gone off and put these old-fashioned hose connectors on. I do not know why they've put them in there. I don't know, maybe some countries still use them or something, but it really is sort of old-fashioned. That is really, you know, it's the quick connection, release connection, I forgot what that was called again, you know, quick release valves or something. That's what pretty much everyone has now. So yeah, a big thumbs up for Scale Model Shop's single action airbrush. So until next time, my name is Bob Waldron, this is Genesis Models, and I hope you've enjoyed. So there is the DB206 single action airbrush by Scale Model Shop, which we'll probably be seeing with the Meteor, because on the Meteor it's got a nice natural metal finish on the underside, so it'll be a good opportunity to really sort of put this one through its paces. So look out for that this month. Next up is going to be competition time. So November's competition is going to be for what we had a inbox review of earlier, which, as you already know, is the British Infantry Before the Attack World War I era 1/35 scale by Master Box Limited. So to be in it to win it, as always, go to Genesis Models forum. In the forum you will find a competition section, and in the November competition thread, all you got to do is post count me in or something to that effect, and you are simply entered. And just like I did with the Nat T1 train, and I'll announce in the December show who is going to be our November 2016 competition winner, which then kind of brings me to a bit of news. First off, competitions. I'm kind of thinking I'd like to change things up a little bit, maybe sort of make you work for the competition a bit more than just put your name into the thread and I'll just do a random number generation program. I don't know, maybe you guys might want to throw some ideas of I don't know, maybe some sort of a question, or you know, a nice close-up picture and sort of name that aircraft or something like that. I don't know, just give me your feedback, you know, and if I get a load of feedback we'll change it, if not we'll just keep it as it is. Also, our group build, the Red Rugged Russian Revolution group build, or Russian group build for sure, coming along really nicely. We're really starting to see those final reveal photos come in, which is rather good to take a look at them. So go have a look. There's only a couple of months left. I do believe it's like January, I forgot what date it was, but I'll probably just put it down here somewhere. That comes to an end, so you've only got a couple of months left to work on that. Now, going back several months, I do remember reading a bunch of posts about picking what's going to be the next group build here at Genesis Models, and I did sort of take on board how a lot of you sort of like to have the time to go out and buy and pick whatever it is you want for the group build, because the way we used to do it is I would basically wait until the current group build basically comes to an end, and that month you would also vote for what's going to be the next group build. So it was literally a transition from the day the group build ends is the day you guys, the voting closes for what's going to be the next group build, and then it just started. So you didn't really have much time to sort of buy in what it was going to be the next group build. So I'm going to open up the threads now, so as you guys can go off and make your suggestions for what's going to be the next group build, and to vote on what's going to be the next group build. And we'll probably leave them open just for a couple of months, maybe up till December, and or just before December, I don't know. I'll make sure that there's enough time. I'll go off and sort of go through the dates and everything, so I haven't gone through them yet, but I'll go through the dates and we'll have it sort of end so that you've got at least a month, maybe two, to be able to go off and go, you know what is going to be the next group build, and buy in whatever you want to buy in and be all ready for that date when it starts, which is probably going to be something like end of January, beginning of February. Again, I forgot what date the Russian group build ends. So check out the forum for all that and make your suggestions. When you do make your suggestions, you know, remember you can pretty much pick anything you want. If you want to do a certain theatre of war, a certain era, a certain aircraft, you know, go off and make your suggestion. And if you vote, please vote yes if you would participate, right? Not, oh yes, I think that's a good idea, but that you would actually go out and join in that group build if you could do that, and say no if no, you don't want to do that particular group build, but you are going to be entering in the group build. It just makes things a little bit fair if we haven't got people who are just kind of voting but they have no intention of being part of the group build. If you could please do that for me. So sadly, we have come to the end of the show, so hopefully you've enjoyed it. So until next time, my name's Bobby Waldron, this is Genesis Models, and I hope you've enjoyed.